Hello everybody, Blue Dooley, and we're actually going to get back to the trailer build for the Grand Hauler. It's been so long since I made the other video on it. I don't know how long it's been. You'll have to just click on the Grand Hauler playlist and see. But part of the reason it got pushed to the side is the pickup truck got a transmission, and then the head needed machined. And then other projects came up. So we're kind of circling back around to it. I also made a mistake on the Grand Hauler's bumper that kind of put me in a mood because I got it done and I was like, hey, this is really cool. And then I realized you kind of made a big mistake there, dumbass, and mounted the bumper in the wrong spot so the body doesn't bolt to the chassis correctly. So we're going to fix that. Let me grab the camera. I'll show you the piece I printed out on the 3D printer to move the bumper to where it needs to be. And then the bumper still needs a little adjustment. So I'm going to fire up the welder, make my adjustments to the bumper, and I'll probably do most of that off camera. But most of this video is going to be getting back on the trailer build. So let me grab the camera. So in my building of the front bumper here, I sort of forgot the grille and the fenders actually come down all the way in front of the chassis rails. So mounting the bumper to the leaf springs mount put the bumper up too high. So I 3D printed a part that will actually slide in here, and I don't know if I made it deep enough. Come on, cooperate with me here. It's not going to. But I only made it deep enough for one mounting bolt. But these openings are the same size as the keyway metal I'm using for the mount. So the mounts will need to be adjusted for those holes, but then the bumper will just slot in kind of like a crawler bumper, and then this will act as the front cross member. And my servos, because I scooted them forward to get them away from the motor a little bit, I made the material on the back side notched out enough so I can just screw the servos to this and have the servos mounted at both ends once again. So like I said, I'm going to mess with the bumper off camera, and I might not even show the finished product because I might have to redesign this and print this. But when this piece is finished, I will put it up on my Thingiverse, and if anybody wants a different style bumper mount, you'll have at it. And then of course, the trailer, we need to straighten up my cuts, and actually I need to find the piece I bent for it. I did bend some. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. It's on this side of the bench. So I need to square up my bends a little bit. Obviously I need to square this up a little bit, but this particular metal is actually meant for like keys on shafts. You cut out a little chunk of it, and this goes in the groove of the shaft, like on a camshaft, and then the gear is clocked to that notch, and then this holds it in place, keeps it from slipping on the shaft. Now here, this side's a little high, and on the other side, it's a little low. So I'm going to, this piece also got tweaked a little bit during the bending, but that's okay. It'll be fixed once we start tacking it together. So this side here, I think I'm actually going to cut down quite a bit. just because after I get the fifth wheel plate on here, it'll sit a little bit higher than I want it to on the truck. So I'm going to shorten both sides. I haven't really determined yet. I'll probably slide this piece down it and kind of measure, and then I'll just probably put a mark with a Sharpie on each end, draw a straight line, and then just buzz this straight. And then I need to make a whole bunch of these to make ribs down the entire length of the trailer. The other thing we need to do, I haven't determined which end's which for front or back, but the front, we're going to have to come notch a little bit of an angle here, cut a little triangle out, because on the real trucks, the front is tapered in a little bit, just so, you know, stuff actually rolls to the belt and goes off the back of the truck. So in this video, we're going to trim the front out, and then now if this was the back, we're actually going to do the opposite. We're actually going to come back a little ways and then up, because the belt actually hangs out past the rear tires a little bit, so you can get a another little belt underneath it to load it into piles inside potato cellars, or load it into grain hoppers, because I have seen these used for grain. Mainly alfalfa, I think. But yeah, so we're going to notch both ends of the trailer out, and then we should get at least one or a couple of these bent up and welded to the body. So let me move some stuff out of the way, and I'll come back after I draw it out. Be a little easier to see it with the marker. I decided this is going to be the front. So what I'm going to do is cut this section out, and it's the same angle on the other side. So the fifth wheel plate will actually come out to where this goes, and then some of this key stock will actually go straight up the front and kind of support this part of the fifth wheel plate. And then the roller for the belt will be in here in this area. And I need to figure out how I'm going to notch a piece of steel so I can have some kind of, maybe like a spring tensioner on it, or manually adjust this tension on the belt. So the belt will actually go this way, and then from the front, come back to the rear. Mark this as the rear, and then, like I said, doing the opposite cut on the back side of the trailer. I'm going to cut it out, and then I might actually kind of square this up a little more. I actually might come in here so this end is a little squarer, and then cut my angle. I think that'll look a little better. But yeah, this whole piece will be cut out, and then the drive for the belt will actually be out here, and then the rearmost axle will be here, kind of between the bumper and the motor, and then the axles. So I'm not going to film cutting this out with a grinder, because that's just going to be obnoxiously loud. And I mean, if you've seen somebody cut something with a angle grinder and a cutoff wheel, yeah, you kind of know what we're doing. So I think I'm going to make all these cuts first, and then we're going to take that little U shape and come along here, and then figure out how much we're going to cut off of this. Got the front notched. I went 1.5 inches, not quite 1.5 inches, up here on the front, from here to there. Slice that out. This upright is now the correct length or height. So this whole sheet metal thing will have to be cut off that much. These were just a hair over 6 inches from the inside to the top. So I took 3/4 inch off this. I bent up a second one and got it out here at the rear. Now this one is going to line up with this edge, so the fact that I didn't cut it very straight is a little bothersome, but in the end it's going to work out. So I got this notched the way I wanted it to be. I do need to clean the cuts up a little bit, obviously, as you can see with the Dremel. I actually cut the verticals with the air saw, which may or may not be the best way to do this, because it is kind of hard to keep it straight. And then for these angled cuts, I just used a little cutoff wheel on my air compressor. So this one is also the correct height, so I need to, like I said, mark off here, and I'll mark off that end and then draw a straight line and see if I can cut a straight line for the entire trailer length. I also need to bend up several more of these, and then kind of once I get them tacked and spaced out a little bit, the trailer will be a little bit more looking like what I'm basing this trailer off of. It's not going to be an exact copy of the trailer, of a popular trailer that's around here quite a bit, but I will throw an image up in case you missed the last video of the trailer we're loosely basing this off of. I mean, if you've seen them before, you'll look at this one and go, yeah, I can see that's what it's supposed to be. If you don't know what I'm talking about, though, you'll have no idea. So let me do some more cutting off camera. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to cut that straight. I might actually clamp it to the other side of the table and then use the table as a guide and just hopefully be able to hold this thing as a guide up against the edge of the workbench and just cut a straight line that way. You'll know how it goes. This is how I sort of got a straight line. I lined up the piece with the edge of my table and then just used the guide on the cutoff wheel to just drag it along the side of the workbench. It worked for the most part, but it's still not pretty. Now that I got that cut, and unfortunately still not 100% straight, but straighter than it was, but it's the correct height. So now I need to measure to make sure this upright is square, and then I'll tack this side, get the bottom squared up, tack it to the bottom, and then I'll work my way around to the other side. And I don't have enough key stock to do the whole trailer. I only managed to get 3 lengths of some 3-foot stuff, and everything else I could find was only a foot long. So I can only get a partial bend out of the foot-long stuff. So I am going to use some straight pieces to go along the top of the trailer. That'll kind of help make the top edge of the trailer look straight. And then I'll have to go about finding me some more key stock, but we'll worry about that later. Let me get this tacked up. Let me get that tacked up, and then we'll probably do the front and then kind of flip it over and you'll kind of see where it's going. I got my shop light here kind of pointed at the ground because I needed more light on the trailer, but I got 2 of my verticals in the back and 2 in the front welded into place, as well as some of the top pieces. On the back here I do have 2 cross members squeezing the trailer together because these bends aren't done on a machine, they were freehand. So it's kind of bowed because it's just been sitting, collected dust and surface rust. I haven't welded sheet metal in a long time, so I've got some holes I blew through, some booger welds. This key stock I don't think is actually meant to be welded. So this whole project would probably be easier if I had a TIG welder. That would make welding two dissimilar metals a little easier. Now, these go all the way across and then up the other side. And on the real trailer that is inspiring this build, the fenders are mounted to these. I did 5-inch spacing, and I'll do 5 inches, 5 inches, and then same on the front, 5-inch spacing. And I'm going to come front to back, and then back to front, and here in the middle, there's actually supposed to be a ladder. So those pieces, vertical pieces, will come down below the bottom of the trailer for a ladder. Like I said, just booger welds. These two popped because, again, it was bowed out so much. I need practice, but these two pieces here kind of sacrificed themselves to hold the trailer together. And on the front, same thing. Fenders mount to these. And then I'm going to get the trailer kingpin and everything, so the front of the trailer kind of lines up with the quarter fenders. On the stock Tamiya trucks, at least the king hauler and the grand hauler, the fifth wheel is mounted slightly behind this suspension center point, and on real trucks, you're either dead center or with a lift axle or a tri-drive, the fifth wheel slides a lot farther forward. So I'm going to actually try to get my kingpin right about here. That way it's actually putting some weight on the steer tires, so when the truck's fully loaded, it steers better. That's also what the heavy bumper is for. So be sure to subscribe so you can see more terrible welding. And like if you are also a terrible welder. But welding aside, that's something you have to do a lot of to get good at. And I just don't consistently weld to get good welds. If I had a TIG machine, probably be a little easier. But this is building a trailer with what I got. So that's going to do it for this video. Again, be sure to subscribe and like, and we'll catch you in the next one.